Good evening and or afternoon, depending on where you're living in the world. It's probably morning in Australia, now that I think about it. We at Lights Under Action will be right on after these songs. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Ran away for college, trying to obtain that knowledge. For a baby boy Thomas to know himself as flawless. I was growing up in bondage to a heretic mind unpolished. Locked it up like a hostage, cause I was constantly admonished by my family, by my friends. I'm the weird kid yet again. Piss me off and I demolish you. Nothing but the honest truth. It will just astonish you. Put you in a lock or two. Only keep a couple few people close to me, but who? That is for me, not you. But please know that I love you too. Keep you in my heart and mind, and I will always root for you. Succeed and love your life. Even get a husband, wife. Just here to make art for the soul, express my strife. But if I find a goddess, then I gotta be honest. I'll give her my entire heart. No need for being modest. All these thoughts driving through this town. It's honestly ironic. When I left at 18, said I'm never coming back, I promise. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Panama City politicians always clown. After Hurricane Michael, they left us all to drown. 5 million stole from FEMA, yeah, they thought they'd get a crown. Good old boy syndrome is the only party in this town. Kick them out of office, tear the entire system down. Charge $500 a month with wires, lay up on the fracking ground. No power, no phone, but we paying for it anyway. Set they ass on fire, profits over people is the way. Burn them all down, take our money back, let them pray. Feed them to the fishes and the sharks up in the bay. Take this fight national, those phonies always stray from doing what the people want. They just look to prey on our fears and feed us lies through propaganda every day. Set us against each other so that we just fray and weaken our defenses. Yes, this is their play, so vote them out of office and please don't forget to spay.
This is Thomas Tyrannic reminding you to please spay and neuter your politicians by voting them out of office and petitioning for term limits in the Senate and Congress. God bless America.
Oh, Tommy Toretic does it live? Oh, we are. Welcome to the shop of Anonymous. I swear I don't want anything to do with this. I promise it. You hear me screaming from the top. I'm dropping knowledges. If error's too far gone for a rookie, so I'm calling this game over for you chumps. The grind is all I know and do. Breathing fire like a dragon's with power coming through. Yeah, I'm working 3 jobs so that I can fracking that crew. That money you dummy, I'm spending, no honey can't take that love from me. Going to the future and never coming back. Marty McFly no more like his dad. Trying to be calm, all this news is just whack. Propaganda flying, so now everybody mad. Empathy is gone, so we all for attack. If you disagree, you just stupid and sad. Use intolerance, or must be smoking crack. Ignorance is bliss, y'all, just a dyad. Two sides of the same coin, killer. Why we ever stop living off 4 pillars? Acting like everything in life must be a thriller. We living in a world written by Frank Miller, cause the Dark Knight's return. So now we charm, so your heroes messed up and now we spurn them because they piss us off and now we burn their careers and lives to the ground. Cause we yearn to be in their position so that we earn millions and millions and millions. But then we turn into the very thing we hate. Now we revert and we refer to the lines that we rehearse. Spread love and forgiveness only to sink deeper. Distract myself from the world. Water, earth, fire, air, swirl. Bend it to your will, then hurl. Flying buffalo, why don't you give it a whirl? Grab a saber, then just twirl. Force cut a pear, give her a pearl. Power unleashes a churl from the dark side. Guess it's time I get back to work. Captain of my own enterprise, call me Kirk. Anger and depression always seem to lurk. Round every corner, so I write this just a perk. Everybody mood up, cause we screwed up. Living in a country where we shoot up. Anybody disagree, just to move up the food chain where you grew up. Otherwise they beat you down cause you used up. Time to boot up, new mindset program. Think you knew us, but you shoe us. You only care about us to subdue us, just to screw us. Living in a country full of Judas. Stab you in the back, USA or Brutus. Call illusions, bringing out the dark night. Now we tuned up, time to scoop up any positivity while the masses are left clueless. They can only catch the speed, miss the new ones. Opportunists, leave them naked in the ground, talking ruthless. I am ruthless, visions full of kids grown ghoulish, broken ruthless, spitting proverbs like Confucius. Call me Tommy, Toretic, or Nostradamus. Who this? Who this? Who this? Who this? Who this? Hello, I'm Thor, son of Dale, here to tell you about the Life of Thor Productions official shop. The only place where you can get your official merchandise for the Lights Thunder Action podcast and Life of Thor's Thor Watches series. Whether you want t-shirts, tanks, hoodies, mugs, and masks, Life of Thor Productions official shop has you covered. If you happen to recognize there's an item that you would like to buy that is not in the official shop, head over to the Lights Thunder Action podcast or Life of Thor and request that item, because if you want it, we'll sell it. Just head to lotproductions.threadless.com/collections to get the item that calls out to you via the Force. Again, that is lotproductions.threadless.com/collections. Thank you, and have a Thor-tastic day. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 42, The Meaning of Life, of Lights, Thunder, Action, where every week we discuss all things DC, Marvel, Star Wars, and the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. I am Thomas Carter Rochester, a.k.a. the son of Dale.
My name's David Thompson, and today we've got a packed show for you guys. Of course, we're rolling right along with WandaVision. Wait for the second half of today's show. We'll be diving deep into episode 3 of WandaVision. What was it? Now in color?
Now in color.
Now in color. We will be there in the second half of this show. But before then, we have news today to break down in just a little bit. We've got a Godzilla vs. Kong trailer to watch with all of you and discuss and debate. And that movie's actually coming soon. So there's much excitement about a film that's right around the corner. And it's real this time, it feels like. An actual trailer right before a movie comes out, just a couple months ahead. So excited for that. And unfortunately, on the other side of that coin, we have some movie delays as well, part of that news. Thomas, how you doing today, bud?
I am good, bro. I should plan what I'm going to say in these, because I never have any idea. I always just wing it and just go with what's on top of my head. And I'm weird, man. I'm just weird. I'm good. I'm weird. I'm alive. I made it to
Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday. Thank you. I made it to Tuesday. I'm going on a trip tomorrow, heading down to Central Florida. And really quick, since we're talking about this, we did tease we're going to have a live show. Unfortunately, I could not get off work for that Monday. So our show will not be live next week like we were planning. Sad face.
Well, we're live every week, but in person. Me and Thomas in the same room talking to each other. Yeah.
See, this is why I should plan these things out. But David, how are you, bro?
I'm doing good, and I'll tell you why. I'm really happy. So I subscribe to the Audible app, the audiobooks subscription service, which it's okay. Like Thomas kind of was talking to me about it, and he's been listening to stuff on there, and I'm into it. Right. My only issue. Quick, just shout out. Nice. quick, just shout out to Amazon. I'm sure Jeff Bezos is listening. it's it's like 16 bucks a month for the one I'm paying for, like the premium plus or whatever, and that means it comes with like a catalog of books to listen, audiobooks to listen to. The catalog's not that deep, and I've even found that most of some of the books that I was kind of lining up in my head that I would want to get the audiobook of, I'm gonna need that 1 credit per month. I don't know why I'm discussing this, but just for anyone who wants to get into audiobooks, because right now it's really cool. So actually, you watched or you read, listened to all of Light of the Jedi, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Obviously. And it was cool to listen to because I listened to the little sample, and there's like production value in the audiobook, which is really neat. So I would suggest to really anyone who's, like me, who's had books that he or she wanted to read, and they're just kind of collecting dust. I'm a big podcast fan. Obviously, we have this show, and I like to listen to them as well. It's great. I've read probably like a chapter of this book. Hadn't really been able to dive into it yet.
What is that book for the audio listener?
For audio listeners of this show, it's the We Don't Need Roads, the Making of the Back to the Future trilogy book by Cassine Gaines. Really good book, very well researched, a lot of good interviews. I'm going to give a full review once I'm done finished reading / listening to it. But I got it for Audible, and it's excellent. I really love the book. I'm just going to tease it for right now. But anyone who's I would totally recommend anyone who just wants to get into reading. And it's really, it's so nice just to have to turn on. I had a drive back up here to Gainesville, it was like 3 hours long. It was great just being able to turn that on for like the second half of it. Literally, I pulled off to the side of the road and signed up for Audible because I was so bored. I didn't have any more podcasts to listen to. So anyway, I would suggest that. But other than what I've been listening to, Thomas, what have you been watching lately, buddy?
I have been watching everything. No, that's not true.
Everything.
Everything. So after WandaVision ended on Saturday morning for my third viewing, that I watched with my nephew and my sister and my other nephew who was playing Fortnite. So technically he wasn't watching. I threw on Marvel 616 because I've dabbled in a couple episodes, and I skipped to the episode where they discuss weird Marvel characters. And bro, I need an entire deep dive on. So there's a trucker. I mean, there's a character called US1.
US1.
Like US1, like the road. Yeah. And his whole life he wanted to be a trucker. And because his family, he comes from a long line of truckers, right? Well, I'm going to give you a brief story because this is how bonkers his story was. It was 12 issues. His family wanted him to go to college. He was very upset because he did not want to go to college.
Yeah.
First off, okay. Second off, he ends up in a car crash, and he is apparently important enough to have cybernetics put into his brain, and his superpower, he gets one, obviously, it's Marvel Comics, is he can pick up CB radio frequencies in his brain by putting together his teeth and his fillings touching.
Okay.
Somehow that turns him into a superhero. And let me just spoil it for you. In episode 12, he's a space trucker. He literally goes to space.
Wow.
I need an entire dive. So they create an entire show. The whole thing is a bit with Jeff Shear, I believe his name, or Paul Shear. Mm-hmm. He's a comedian. You've seen him in a lot of stuff. It's him trying to make a show about brute force, which is just it's like Suicide Squad, but with animals.
Yeah. Is
the best way to describe that. And it's just super weird. Then I watched the one on cosplaying, which, as you know me, folks, I love it.
Wait, what is it on Disney Plus?
It's on the Disney Plus. It is indeed. Marvel 616.
Gotcha.
The first episode of that is on the Japanese Spider-Man show, and that is it's basically an entire documentary on how the whole series was made. It's fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Then I finished.
You got my attention when you said Spider-Man.
Hey. Fun fact, Spider-Man, the Japanese show, led to the creation of Power Rangers.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, way. So I had no idea, bro. But then I watched and finished season 1 of Star Wars Resistance, and let me just say, it was a fun show. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't it wasn't like Clone Wars where I'm gonna binge all of it. Like I'd watched a few here, a few there. Then once the first orders started showing up, it was a little bit more enticing. Oh baby! Then they give us General Hux giving his major ending. And today will mark the day of the end of the Republic. And it ties directly in to The Force Awakens in that scene. And it's like, oh, shnikes. Did not anticipate that. And now I'm super pumped for season 2. And also, it really makes you far more upset about the destruction of Hosnian Prime in the show. I'll just tease that. I've also watched football.
Same.
All the records have been set. So... What have you been watching, bro?
So I watch football as well. The Super Bowl that I wanted happened. The Chiefs and the Buccaneers won, and that was the Super Bowl that I was rooting for just because, I don't know, Pat Mahomes versus Tom Brady just feels like it'll be a fun game and historical possibly. But I was rooting for that. Also, on top of that, me and Jasmine finished Queen's Gambit, which is the Netflix limited series. I think it's only going to be the one season. Definitely is going to be only the one season. I think it's based off a book, and it's just the one. It's not a series, just the one book, and they made a show about it on Netflix. It's a really good show. I would totally recommend it. We just finished it. Terry, help me out in the chat. You got me last week. Who's the lead in Queen's Gambit? She's in New Mutants as well. I forget that actress's name. She's great though in it.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. She is great in that. Her character's name is Elizabeth Harmon. It's such a good story, and it's got a great. The ending's fine. The journey is better than the end in that show. I would just temper your expectations with that, in my opinion. But it's a really good show. It's all about chess, which is funny because I have no idea how to play chess or anything like that. But I'm still very entertained. The thing is, she's treated like an athlete, which I like. She basically is, right? Like she's going to the chess US Open and stuff like that. It's really interesting. And it's just a well-made show. It's another one of those Netflix just well-made shows, and a great performance by her all throughout. And who knows? I don't know. There's a child actress who plays the younger version of her, and I loved her in it too as well. So I go check out that show, guys, if you haven't already. I know all the hype's kind of already passed on it. I think it came out a bit ago and people already watched it, but it's a really good show and we just finished it. So
Indeed. David, speaking of, first off, I want to jump back to the Audible thing really fast, just because I've listened to a couple of other audiobooks, but Star Wars is my favorite because, well, it gives you the characters, it gives you voice, it gives a great deep dive into their minds. And I'm telling you, Light of the Jedi, Mark Thompson, I believe, is the narrator. That he's just having all of the fun, and really it bleeds through. But the music and the sound effects,
it's really cool.
They'll have a door whoosh open when it's supposed to, and it's those little details that really, it's an audio drama is what it is. It really is an audio drama. And I've listened to a thing called the Power Rangers audio drama, which is, oh my God, it's amazing. It's just so good. A big fan of audiobooks. And if anyone has any audiobooks out there, in fact, in the chat, because I've been debating this, should I buy Ready Player One now? Because I want to listen to Ready Player One before I listen to Ready Player Two, the book.
Okay.
Or, should I do that now, or should I just listen to Ready Player Two? Because I've seen the movie Ready Player One, so I kind of want to know what the chat has to say about that. But
my vote is to do it in order.
That's my vote. That's my thoughts too.
Repeat one, because that's funny. That reminds me. Jasmine watched that show Bridgerton on Netflix as well, and she got super watched it in a day. I don't know if you heard of it. It's based in the 1800s. It's a popular show right now. Yeah, it's new and popular. Netflix, they own streaming still. Anyway, and she wants to read the books now, but that reminds me, I think she wants to read the first one, even though she already knows what happens. But she's like, I can't wait for the second season. I want to know what happens. There's 8 books in that series. So anyway, but maybe she'll buy the audio book, and maybe you guys we'll listen to our audio podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We finally got there. You guys can find our audio podcast at Lights Thunder Action on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Also our hosting site, Spreaker. While you're there, subscribe, like, follow, do all that good stuff. And if you're feeling extra generous, give us a little, maybe 4 or 5 stars, a review, say something nice about us. And yeah, so if you guys are going on a run, on a walk, driving your car like I always do when I find myself wanting to listen to podcasts, even working out sometimes, back when I worked out, listening to
same.
Yeah. Listening to podcasts, it's a great way to kind of let the time go by and listening to something that's not just music to me anyway. So, Thomas, what else you got for us?
Speaking of the podcast, we've actually been nominated for some kind of award. I'm always going to do the Grinch, ladies and gentlemen. No, we've been nominated for the Independent Creators Award for Podcast of the Year. If you go to our Facebook page, go to our pinned post, you can join the group and show your support there by voting for us. While you're at that pinned post, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and leave a comment on the pinned post so you can be entered into the chance, the raffle, if you will, to get a free audio copy of Light of the Jedi. Audible's terms is you cannot have received a book from a friend before. Let me rephrase that. You cannot have accepted a book from a friend before. So, David, accepted that damn book because it's free for you. You're welcome.
Okay.
Everybody else, you can enter in for your chance to win. Right now, there's no time limit. Once we get a lot of comments on there, I'll just shout it to the rooftops, if you will.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it seems like the chat is saying that you should do Ready Player One, then 2 first. Anyway.
All right, that's what I'm listening to tomorrow.
I want to know who's representing FITV right now, because they said I, not we, and I want to know who's behind the keyboard.
Well, before we continue, before you continue, we here at Lights Thunder Action are live streaming every week to our Facebook page and the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube. You can find us at Lights Thunder Action on Instagram as well. LTA Podcasting on the Twitter, that is an action verb, ing at the end. And of course, Lights Thunder Action, ! On YouTube, where we release our exclusive Lights Thunder Action clips. There was something I was going to say. Oh, yes. Speaking of the HWWS WebTV channel, today on Tuesday is a packed day. So if you are watching with us live right now, I looked the wrong way. I knew better than that. Coming up right after us at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. They're interviewing the Renegade, the Ranny. I am not a Whovian, so I don't really know what that means. I'm sorry, guys. And then at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, Back Talk with Bauer. He reviews some stuff. Knowing Josh Bauer, if you don't know Josh Bauer, ladies and gentlemen, he's a sexy son of a blue who's kind of multi-talented musician and artist. He's going to yell.
Made our intro segment. Made
our intro. You'll see all the other stuff he can make later on in an ad, I'm sure. And of course, at 8 p.m. Eastern, Brian K. Morris is going to be interviewing Lace Limbach. I ruined their name. I know it, but the HWWS WebTV, if you think that this is a lot, it's this every single day. It's like this every day. There is content upon content upon content. And we are just very happy and humble and excited to be a part of them. David, we're going to go ahead and just take our first ad break because we're kind of already in the ad section. And then we'll come back with everybody's favorite segment of the week. Hashtag, what the news? Voyage, The Call, a mini horror sci-fi comic following the adventures of Sonderon, an intergalactic space explorer. Come check out a mini horror sci-fi comic following the adventures of Sonderon. Due to sleep deprivation, Sonderon has been taking every opportunity to stay awake. The constant nightmares have driven him to a point of madness, where he has no choice but to succumb and follow the calling in hopes to end the madness. There, you pick up this enigmatic, suspenseful tale of horror and figure out where the call has been coming from. There are 5 days left on this Kickstarter. Go now. JBauerArt has the graphic design skills you need to develop your next logo and at an affordable price. But he's not just a one-trick pony. Follow JBauerArt on social media to interact during live paintings and see all of his previous artwork, which you can buy exclusively at JBauerArtShop.com. Not only is he an artist, this beautiful son of a blue brings you the Back Talk with Bauer podcast every week with unique guests. And every month he hosts a special Back Talk with Friends episode that can only be described as chaotic and hilarious. Need a video intro or commercial? JBauerArt has you covered. For all of this and more, follow JBauerArt on social media. That's JBauerArt. Check out JBauerArt.com for a full portfolio and JBauerArtShop.com to buy that special painting for you and your loved ones. And now it is time for everyone's favorite segment of the week. What the news?
All right, what the news, ladies and gentlemen. And we're starting big. We're starting ginormous. We're starting another big word. Godzilla versus Kong.
We're starting with the Battle of the Kings.
Team Kong, everyone. Leave
No!
it in the chat. Hashtag Team Kong. Who's with me? Thomas, you're going to watch this trailer or not?
We are going to watch the trailer once I find the link that it is hiding in. Ladies and
Team
gentlemen.
Kong, everyone. All right,
No,
all right, hold on.
it's not Team Kong. Oh,
I'm going to bring up, wait, before we play it, just the quick, David always has to lay out the groundwork first.
Yes.
So, of course, Godzilla vs.
Right.
Kong, it got pushed up, coming out HBO Max and in theaters, which is very exciting for those that like to go to the theater, and for people that like movies in general, because this is the first film of what feels like forever that actually had a date move up. It was supposed to come out at the end of May, I believe, and now it's coming out, what is it now? It's March 20-something-th. It'll say at the end of the trailer. Hold on for that one. Yeah. It's in March, essentially. So anyway, I've never seen even the first Godzilla movie. I saw the second one, and I saw the Kong Skull Island movie. So I'm excited for the film. And here's my thing. I'm going to say it right now.
Oh, boy.
You know, it stinks how everything is in the world right now. But this film, there is no chance I'm putting it on this TV on HBO Max. I am finding a theater. I hope Regal at this point is open because they're the ones open here in Gainesville. Those are the theaters in Gainesville. They're all closed right now. Regal in general is just closed temporarily. There's no way I'm putting this movie up on my TV on HBO Max. I'm going to a theater to see this. Because this is like, if there's a that's what's disappointing. If there is any movie that was, they had an idea for the film and they had the theater in mind, it is this. Because it's these just giant monsters. This is not a movie you're going to watch on the HBO Max app on your phone. You need to go out to a theater. I mean, you don't need to, of course, but
you need to.
This is a film that's supposed to be seen in theaters more than others, more than like Wonder Woman, or I would even say like Black Widow. Like this is it's a monster movie. It's supposed to be, the whole point is not the groundbreaking story arc and all this. It's to go watch these behemoth giants smash each other in half.
IMAX. Listen, chicks dig giant monsters. Dudes dig giant monsters. I dig giant monsters. You dig giant monsters. Kaiju forever!
Okay, let's see the trailer. Good trailer, by the way.
By the way, I'm just going to pause it right here. Yeah, you see that, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just pausing it because I'm going to ruin this movie for you. That's Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
He's the whole point of this damn thing, and
I mean, it's
the Dragon Zord.
it's the whole Batman v Superman spiel, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, one versus the other, but then at the end, a bigger monster shows up and they have to kill it together. Well, whatever. I'm cool with it, honestly, because in a way, that means we know they're gonna fight earlier on in the film, and it means we're gonna get more fighting generally if there's gonna be a third fight of them teaming up. I wanted to say too, it looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it in theaters because the movie the CGI, at least in the trailer, I mean, they've had plenty of time to work on it for sure, but like the CGI looks excellent. I think Kong looks fantastic, and I think he's a little more difficult to really get.
Because he's, humanistic.
Yeah,
more humanoid, I should say.
Exactly, and he's
How
based off.
loud is this to you, David?
It's very quiet.
Oh, well, it's blowing my eardrums. I can barely hear you. All right, that's good. That means we won't get shut down. So I was questioning whether this was actually Godzilla or Mechagodzilla when I was watching it the second time. Yeah, well, it was just I couldn't remember the full trailer, but like I just love Godzilla so much that this whole trailer scares me.
I love how he senses him. Now, which movie was she in previously?
I don't think she was.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
No. I thought she.
Now that's what we're here for.
Dude, if you watch this movie on your phone or something, you're missing out. It's gonna be awesome.
See, that is the move right there.
Yeah. Dude,
These are
it
dangerous
needs to be the Fast and Furious of monster movies. Just don't worry about the plot. Just make it move.
Yeah.
Like,
See, you know what boggles my mind about King of Monsters and Godzilla and Kong Skull Island? They're like, I didn't care about the characters. The characters are monsters, guys. It's called Godzilla, King of Monsters, not the human over here. And the worm.
Multiple fights between them. Oh my gosh!
And I feel like this one feels like a climax. And here's why I'm worried. No!
Let's go.
It has been like 20-something years since I watched Godzilla versus Kong from whatever year that was. It was made. I don't even remember when it was made, but I watched it in like 98. And I am still emotionally distraught by the fact that they let King Kong win against Godzilla. I don't know. No.
This is not one of those hills I'm gonna die on. It's just a fun, side to take. I'm Team Kong because he's the underdog, right? I just want to root for him. Godzilla is clearly the superior beast. He's got all this hard-shelled spikes and skin and can swim underwater and is bigger. That's what's funny too. And I love when people are actually comparing the heights as if the movie's going to care all about the canon of their heights. Who cares? Just make them the same-ish size and have them fight. I'm not one of these people. Like, for me, movies, it's all about your expectations, right? Like, I go into certain films, I know I got to be, like, paying attention, like, maybe not grab so many snacks. This is back when we went to the theaters. Like, just have a drink, like, just have some water and, like, really, like, focus up on what's happening. Then there's some drinks that I call like turn off the brain popcorn flicks, like Fast and Furious, or I think it's some other. Godzilla, like this sort of thing.
Definitely,
I would argue The Rise of Skywalker.
And I support that.
Yeah, so anyway, like this is just one of those
kill
movies.
Chewie, so they win.
True. This is one of those movies. You're supposed to go out to the theater. You're supposed to grab the biggest thing of popcorn, grab the drink, whatever, sit down and enjoy it for 2 hours and just watch these monsters fight. It looks great. Team Kong. But the issue is we all know that it's going to be, it doesn't matter what team we're on. I guess it might, one might best the other.
Well, they say, they're teasing one will fall.
One will fall, so, but will the one be the greater Godzilla?
Okay, I see you. See, I just hope they're not hitting us with false advertisement of Godzilla versus Kong. One will fall. Sunday. I'm really hoping, I don't want either of them to die. This is the hill I will die on. I don't want either of them to die.
Mhm.
I don't even want either of them to lose. I want them to take out Mecha Godzilla, and
They
I want
will.
Mecha Godzilla to nuke an entire town, because then that's when they need to come together. Here's what I'm excited for.
Okay.
I was like, Kong's not supposed to be anywhere close to his size. Like, he was not that big in Kong Skull Island. Someone pointed out to me, Kyle, the chef McMillan. You know Kyle, right? He worked at Clemente with us. It might have been right around the time that you got hired.
Okay.
But Chef, that's his name. His name is Chef. He reminded me that in Kong Skull Island, they say that Kong is a juvenile. He's actually still growing. He's going to be much bigger. And it was set in the 70s. So that's about, 50 years of growth.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I was like, once he said that, I was like, ooh, that means
forgot it was
Kong's
based
going to be
in the past.
massive. Yeah, I did too. So he's going to be massive. That is amazing. I'm very excited for that. And because of, if you watch Kong Skull Island, that dude know how to fight. Like, he can throw a hand.
Yeah.
And he is far more intelligently, he's portrayed more intelligent than Godzilla is portrayed.
Yeah.
He is shown to have an intellectual ability in Kong Skull Island. So it's coming down to like brute force versus intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're going Neanderthal versus Homo sapien, and like, who's going to win out?
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, how Godzilla is a little more humanized, just kind of like in his look or whatever. Just because based on like what, species, quote unquote, it's kind of like that when intelligence. Because in Godzilla, the second one, Godzilla seems intelligent. It's just a different kind of intelligence, right? It's not like human interaction, like social intelligence, but him actually like knowing when to fight and what. And anyway, I think this movie's gonna be fun. I hope it doesn't run too long. I hope it's not. I hope for one time the people in the film are the secondary characters, like the actual humans. That's what it needs to be for this. I mean, you got two of them now, not just one. You have two, and you could really get in if you get both of their stories in, make it move, get to the final fight between them two, and then get to when they team up. I hope it ends in a way that we can get a sequel as well. If I like it, I mean, who cares if I don't? But I think I will like it. And honestly, like, before we move on, because we have some positive news about the movies today, which we're about to get into. This is our first real positive thing since like March, basically, for movies. And it'll be a year. Yeah,
it is. And let's get some finger snaps on that, because we've literally just been waiting for so long for any kind of good news.
Yeah.
I feel what I should have done is I should have got Professor Farnsworth from Futurama lined up to be like, good news, everyone. It's like, we have good news. And what is that good news, David?
Speaking of which, AMC is staying alive, it seems like. So here we go from Deadline. Here's what they wrote. I'm just going to read off this. This was the best article I found, but they didn't have an exclusive or anything. Just AMC came out and said it. Here we go. Struggling AMC Entertainment said early Monday it has raised or signed commitments for $713 million in fresh financing, calling it, quote, enough cash to make it through this dark coronavirus impacted winter. Going on, the funds follow $204 million it raised in December for a total of $917 million, which means, said CEO of AMC, Adam Aron, quote, that any talk of an imminent bankruptcy for AMC is completely off the table. Rejoice. Yeah, play the Return of the Jedi song.
Oh my God, I should have got it lined up, bro.
It's all right.
We'll plan for next week.
We'll play it when we're actually back in a theater. It was striking news after months of uncertainty as to whether the nation's largest cinema chain could continue as a growing concern. I think there's a typo. Wow, the Deadline has a typo. What? Shares are up to a whopping 38%. So yeah, whatever. Stocks. Aaron told Deadline he believes that with any kind of semblance of recovery, just a partial recovery, we raised enough money to make it through all of 2021. Yay. Worst case would be July. Quote, assuming that everything is closed and we don't sell one ticket in that time frame. So, and that's not going to be the case, right? We're getting Godzilla, like we're saying. We're getting more movies. The vaccines, it's slowly rolling out, but hopefully by the end of March, when Godzilla and King Kong's coming out, people will be more willing to go out to a theater. I mean, it's going to be a year since like lockdown started in the United States. So I think people are really going to be itching to get back to the cinema. And we're going to get to it a bit later in our lightning news section. But some of the movement happening with other movies is because of 2021, the second half of it, especially the summer, being pretty packed right now. So exciting times around the corner. Thomas, you have any thoughts on AMC staying alive, raising these funds?
Yay!
All right. Another, I guess, yay story. I don't know much about this, to be honest. But Peacock has bought the WWE network, which I'm not a wrestling fan, never have been, for whatever reason. I know a lot of people are, but Peacock, Thomas being one of those people, so you can you can enlighten me after I kind of read the news here. But the thing is, from my perspective, as someone who keeps up and cares about streaming services and the future of media in general, Peacock is a brand new player into streaming. It's the NBC Universal streaming service, and they just got The Office because that contract ran out on Netflix, and that's their real breadwinner right now, is just having the rights to The Office. But now
Battlestar Galactica, BSG. Sorry.
And that, but now let me read the news here, because now this is them really being like, all right, we own a big audience here. This is just owning a chunk of this giant audience. And here we go. So reading from Variety.com, WWE and NBCU reached a multi-year agreement giving Peacock exclusive streaming rights to WWE Network for American viewers. The over-the-top wrestling entertainment services existing U.S. subscribers, so the subscriber base for WWE Network is about 1.1 million right now, 1.1 million households, people, will be migrated over to Peacock Premium, where they'll continue to get access to WWE Network, but will pay 50% less per month while getting full access to the version of the Peacock Premier tier with ads. So win-win, it seems like, for WWE fans. You might be paying less, and now you paying less and getting more, because if you already had the WWE Network, now you get all of Peacock, which has The Office and other shows. Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, so say we all.
Finishing up, Peacock will launch WWE Network on March 18th, 2021. So March 18th of this year, you'll see that transition over, when Peacock will begin the rollout of more than 17,000 hours of WWE Network new, original, and library programming. Thomas, I don't watch wrestling. I don't really care about this news. It is interesting, though. What do you think?
Here's why it is massive. So as just a wrestling fan, we pay $9.99 a month for WWE, right?
Okay.
That's the whole network, which means back in the day, WWE has broken so many barriers when it comes to making money. They were the first one to get off closed circuit television and into pay-per-view back in the 80s. They were the first ones to strike a deal with NBC a long time ago for weekly wrestling with Monday Night Raw. That has been a mainstay in their company for, 20, 30, almost 30 years now. So it's a huge, huge thing that they're doing here. And then they branched out in 2014, starting the WWE Network. And at that time, it was basically like Netflix. Hulu was kind of around, but it was a vastly different version of what Hulu was. They weren't making originals just yet.
Yeah.
And so what really ends up happening now is they're now doing another big jump. They're basically the first script programming that is going to be exclusive to a streaming network. That is why this is big, because this is going to start the next phase. So WWE always is groundbreaking. So who's next? Well, NFL, NBA, etc. This is going to, I think, build to a bigger long-term thing of, oh, get our streaming service, you get these games as well. CBS All Access kind of already does that. They take anyone they can. They're Paramount, yeah, I think. So all of their Paramount stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They have all Star Treks and stuff like that. But then, if you have CBS All Access, you can watch live games because they have those contracts in place, and you pay. I think it's $4 a month for that. Now, in terms of the pricing, WWE is $9.99 a month. If you go, once it migrates over, it's going to be less for the premium tier with ads, or it's the same exact price for no ads. So, really, pay $10 a month, you get Peacock and WWE Network, and you get no ads whatsoever. That's a win. Here's what is very important to remember, though, especially as a long-term wrestling fan. Pay-per-views, still, if you watch it on a pay-per-view, you're still paying about $50 for that pay-per-view alone.
Right.
$10 a month gets you not just that pay-per-view, any other special live events that they have, and all the amazing stuff they have documentary programs galore that they have. They have a couple, if I'm not mistaken, a couple scripted programs which are just parodies of wrestling companies throughout the years. It's a hilarious thing. They do road trip. They go behind the scenes of WrestleMania. What they're doing is kind of the NFL films version, but in WWE. Like, that's a good way to describe what they do. They paid the WWE $1 billion, is what I've been reading. It's a deal worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
So that is a huge chunk of change that WWE has needed. And March 18th is 2 weeks before WrestleMania, the grandest, biggest wrestling event of all time. And every year it gets bigger. And this year, it is in Raymond James Stadium.
Oh, you're kidding. They're busy.
It was supposed to be in it last year, but unfortunately, COVID happened. So they had it, a different version. And that was an amazing Mania. I watched that. I wanted to see what it was like. And it was great. It was really entertaining. It was different. You could hear each other, them trash talking each other. Like, it was a very intimate feel. And this year, it's going to have a few thousand in the stands at Raymond James Stadium. So, yeah, Raymond James is going to be busy. I'm not 100% sure because I don't keep up with wrestling like I should because who has time. But they, I'm pretty sure, are going to be over 2 nights this year as well. Terry in the comments will probably correct me, as will anybody else who watches wrestling that's watching in the comments. This is a huge deal for the future. And not only that, Peacock is about to get 1.1 million subscribers right off the bat. And I am someone, like, my friend has WWE Network, and I use his because he used mine for a long time. Take that, bureaucracy. So when it transitions over, I'm like, dude, look, I'll split that bill with you for Peacock to pay $9.99 a month because I want to watch Battlestar Galactica. And watching just Battlestar was not enough for me to pay for Peacock. Yeah. But getting WWE and Battlestar Galactica is 100% enough for me to pay for Peacock. So they just won me. Peacock won me over. Yeah. I was like, I'll watch it with ads. But then I'm like, I hate ads. I will not watch it with ads. So, that's going to wrap up this story. But this is a big deal. I'm very excited to see what happens because, if HBO Max starts doing exclusive boxing events and, Disney Plus does like exclusive sports coverage as well. Like, I don't think they will do anything for college football because
you see ESPN Plus has the UFC fights.
Exactly. Yeah. And ESPN Plus has those. And ESPN Plus also has my favorite show of all time, NFL Primetime.
Yeah, right.
Because the Bowman.
So my final thoughts on that, Peacock, it's a really smart move for them, it seems like, especially with just the streaming wars pushing on. All these companies that have these streaming services just want to up their subscribers. They just want to up their subscribers, up the IP they have, up their value, really. Because Netflix right now, everyone's still chasing Netflix, and they have just an insane amount of subscribers and an insane amount of value because of their subscriber base and all their properties. So really interesting. Peacock, big move for them.
Before we move on, hot take. Do you think Netflix will survive streaming?
Okay, good question.
Financially.
Kind of a trick question. I think they will, because the way I've heard it and read is that Netflix right now pays out the ass in licensing money because they don't have that many, they don't have that much original content. It seems like they do, but when you really dive into it, they have to pay for so much of what fills up that library. So I think they will. Short answer is because they could just, the second they stop with a lot of the licensing stuff, they can start making a profit. They're not really turning much of a profit right now because they've been pumping out so much, but they could take their foot off the gas a bit and start making a profit. So yes, I do believe they will survive, especially because they've gotten themselves a lot of good Netflix original content now, like over the years that fills out that catalog. So they might not have to rely on those licensed, properties. Like, I mean, The Office just left, but like Friends, The Office, like things that have really like made Netflix what it is today. Mm-hmm. I think it will survive. My second point on that though is, it will not be the juggernaut in a few years. It won't be the number one. Right now it is. Right now that's what everyone's shooting for. Their subscriber base and their library, their catalog. But the thing is, shows and streaming services, like Disney Plus and HBO Max, when they're taking original content and putting it out, and they don't have to pay as like Disney Plus pays zero licensing fees, as far as I understand, because they own everything. I mean, they bought Fox, so it's not they're not paying money, paying a lot of money for IP, but like it's theirs. They don't have to pay licensing fees. So building a streaming service from the ground up, owning something like this, they're not leasing, they're not licensing from WWE Peacock. They bought it. They bought the network. Well, I guess
they bought the network rights.
Correct. That's what I mean.
Which really just kind of
it's a contract.
Yeah, it upgrades their the deal they already have to put them on the USA network every week.
And the Peacock is brand new, and they don't have that much going for them outside of like The Office and other like smaller things. Unlike Disney Plus, where they're going to come out with Mandalorian, WandaVision, all this original stuff, as well as just like the vault of a catalog that they have. So the streaming wars, this kind of turned into a streaming wars discussion. But yeah, I do think Netflix will survive, to answer your question. They just aren't going to be the number one powerhouse in like 5 years, probably, just because by then, think about how big Disney Plus is going to be.
I know, I'm sorry. Calm down, Thomas. Calm down.
Disney is coming for all of us. So anyway,
well, you know who's going to be also a juggernaut if this news pans out that we've got coming up next?
Yep,
Max.
Right. Speaking directly about the streaming wars, this is another big move. HBO Max they're the ones that seem the most desperate in a way to grow their streaming service the quickest, because and it's so they're doing it the most blatantly, where all of a sudden 2021 all their movies are on HBO Max. Like Warner Media is just like boom, every single movie in 2021 is on HBO Max, forcing people, not forcing, but really making people want to subscribe to the streaming service. And now this isn't going to be the end of it. So let's get into the news. This came as a decent surprise. I think some people were expecting it, but nothing from Harry Potter has been really touched for a while. They have a video game coming out that got delayed. But anyway, here we go. An exclusive from the Hollywood Reporter. Just for note. This is from them. A Harry Potter live-action TV series is in early development at HBO Max. Sources tell the Hollywood Reporter that executives at the Warner Media-backed streamer have engaged in multiple conversations with potential writers exploring various ideas that would bring the beloved property to television. Sources say broad ideas have been discussed as part of the early stage exploratory meetings. Moving forward, this part's interesting. While it's news that executives at HBO Max and Warner Media have engaged in meetings to find a writer and pitch for a Harry Potter TV series, no writers or talent are currently attached, as the conversations are still in extremely early stages and no deals have been made. Here's a quote. This is interesting. This is from HBO Max and Warner Bros. There are no Harry Potter series in development at the studio or the streaming platform. So they are denying it pretty much. Warner Media, it's happening. The whole point of the report is that it's super early stages and that they don't even know what it's going to be yet, it seems like, according to this. Maybe they have an idea, but they're just like, hey, that's what I'm saying with the what feels like a desperate move, but not really. It's not coming from a creative standpoint. No one approached them and was like, hey, I have this Harry Potter idea. Oh my gosh, that pitch was amazing. Let's greenlight it. No, it's like, I'm Warner Media. What could give us subscribers? What's really popular? Oh, Harry Potter. Extremely popular. Let's make a show about that and put it on HBO Max. Somebody write it. Somebody come up with an idea. I'm kind of excited for this, but you can see it's telegraphed how they're doing it, right? Like I'm HBO Max, we have to build this, we have to make this it's a great streaming service, honestly. It's a really good one. But we have to get more subscribers. It's decently behind, like, Netflix, Disney Plus. I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but anyway. So, Thomas, I don't know how big of a Potter fan you are, but what were your thoughts when you saw this, just generally?
Oh my, was my thoughts. I mean, I like Fantastic Beasts more than I like the Harry Potter franchise. I know that I get a lot. I get that a lot, but here's why. I knew that the Harry Potter movies came from books. Yeah. And there are certain things in some of them that just it doesn't translate as well because of, honestly, it really just comes down to probably creative differences in this script and adapting. And I've heard enough that, it leaves out this, it leaves out that, and it leaves out like a lot of important characters. But Fantastic Beasts was made specifically for screen. So it, to me, works better as a storytelling mechanism. Good Lord, it's raining. I'm hearing it through my headphones and my speakers. Yeah. But when it comes to HBO Max, they're very behind, and they have some really good stuff on there that I've seen. Motherless Brooklyn, I watched. Not on there, but I've seen it. It's a great movie. They have Citizen Kane, Luther, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and American
documentaries. Well, they have all HBO. HBO is a very HBO just pumps out quality. So
they do, and not just that, but they also now have DC, which really important. That is where they're going to get a lot of coming up. I believe it's like in the next couple months, they're about to pull in a lot of subscribers just because of DC. They own Harley Quinn now. They've announced season 3 of Harley Quinn. They own all of the CW library. That's what I'm looking. I'm pretty certain right now that Batwoman streams exclusively on HBO Max. Yeah. And they do not have season 2 on. Maybe it's not letting me watch it because of my subscriber.
Well, here's the other thing about HBO Max you got to keep in mind. It's only currently available in the United States.
Oh my God, that's right. I totally forget about that.
That's a huge part of the numbers, and you can't even compare in a way because obviously most of them are from the United States in all these streaming services because they're United States streaming services. Yeah. The shows are they're American, but they only are available in the United States, and that's a big issue when it comes to the Disney or the day and date 2020 plan for a lot of people. Is that if you're not in the United States and you don't have a theater to go to, you're tough out of luck. And here, if you have HBO Max, you're set. If you can't find a theater, if you don't want to go out to a theater, but other places you're not. This show's not going to come out for a long time. I'm sure Harry Potter fans are excited. It's maybe not. I was talking to some friends and they were saying, I don't know, sometimes better just leave something untouched. However, I would say they could do a lot with this. Like I was kind of joking earlier. I wasn't really joking, but how they just hey, make something. I think they could make something really interesting. Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Legacy game that's coming out now in 2022. It's going to be a prequel. I think maybe even a couple 100 years before the Harry Potter films, books, that timeline, before Harry and all that. And this could be something. We love the MCU, we love all these things. This could be the start of a Harry Potter universe here. They don't have to stay in one. And we're seeing this a lot, right? Where Game of Thrones, exactly. They can just do the setting where they are and what they're doing is more important than when. And that's the trick. You can go whenever and then tell the story and make it be just as interesting because it's the same what and who and where. But when will it be? Because I think they could. The smartest thing for them to do, especially if they're not bringing J.K. Rowling in for this, is
let's hope not.
Just go like 100 years in the future or like a couple hundred in the past. Like go away from almost everything characters we know and just make something new. Maybe that won't. That's the thing though. I think some studio heads, and I think the safer bet would be have Harry or Hermione or Ron in it, just because pop them in a trailer, people are going to click it. But I think creatively,
Flashback.
Yeah, it's flashback. True. I think story wise, it'd be really interesting for them to do something completely out of the timeline of the original. What is it? 7, 8 books.
Here's what I think they should do before we move on to light news. This is going to be brief.
Sure. Okay.
They should do the Legend of Korra method, where they in Legend of Korra and Avatar, once the Avatar dies, then the Avatar reincarnates into another person, right? Everybody knows that. So they should just, and it turns out that she ends up training with the family, like the sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons of the original Avatar team. Why don't we just fast forward to, the Potters and the Hermiones and the Griswolds are dead. What's Weasleys? That's it. The Weasleys are dead, and we pick up the story with their kids, because first off, that'll draw in just enough people, and you have nothing but freedom then, and you can also have flashbacks to the characters with the actors at the age they are now.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that there is like a book/play that's during that timeline. Yeah, and a lot of Potter fans don't like it, but they could do something new. Who knows?
Shocking, they don't. So, are you ready for the faster version of the news?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me speed up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fastest news segment you'll never actually remember. This is Lightning News, where I'm going to dive deep into the news because I'm doing the news fast. First up, what do we have? Oh, right, yeah. Movie delays. Oh, dang it. Here's the movie delays. Uncharted, now February 11th, 2022. Morbius, now January 21st, 2022. Ghostbusters Afterlife, November 11th, 2021. I'm sad because I'm really excited for that, but it's still in this year. So, yay. Quiet Place 2, September 17th, 2021. James Bond, No Time to Die, October 8th, 2021. Not moved, Venom.
Yeah.
Very important.
So that was kind of my point in this little lightning section, is that Sony moved Uncharted and Morbius, which is confusing with Morbius is how it's going to tie in with Venom. But important to note, no Spider-Man move and more importantly, no Venom move, which you would think would be more obvious. What I read was that Sony made these moves more because of the crowdedness of the 2021, not really because of COVID. Like, they're worried about getting it out, because both of these, Morbius was, well, I guess Morbius probably, because that was coming out in March, and they're like, nah, let's just push that out of the way. And Uncharted was coming out in July. I think they just got Uncharted out of there because that's just there's gonna be a lot around there. And Uncharted is the first of its, it's the first of its series. They don't have to, they're not stuck in a storyline like maybe Venom or something, or Spider-Man specifically, where it really needs to come out in that date for it to fit in line with the MCU. So it makes sense they move those movies, but it's exciting in a way that Venom is still, it seems like it will stick with June 25th, even more so after hearing this, because Sony moved these other films, but Venom's still staying. And this is a look, it seems like it will stay after these other moves they made, that they decided that Venom is what they're going to stick with in June 25th, I think, of this year.
Very exciting. Coming up next, we have Black Widow Time Run. Dyslexia. On Disney's official UK website for Black Widow, the runtime has been listed as 2 hours and 13 minutes. David, what Easter egg is in 2:13?
I have no idea.
I don't either. I thought I'd quiz you.
I was like, what? I think it's a good runtime. I mean, not to just sit here and think all movies are based off runtimes, but it's not 3 hours long. It seems like a pretty typical Black Widow movie. And what's exciting about this, I think more than the actual minute runtime of the film, is that, hey, when you get runtimes when a movie's close to releasing, and obviously this was coming from the United Kingdom webpage, so we know it's going to be 2 hours, 13 minutes. I hope they stick. We haven't heard any news. Feige had said some pretty, I don't know. He didn't really say much in interviews for WandaVision when asked about Black Widow. Just basically shrugged and said, I don't know yet. But let's just hope that it stays that May 7th release date, I believe it is. And if they have to do day and date with, a premium thing with Disney Plus, just get it out there. Just put it in theaters, put it on Disney Plus, please. Like, it's funny. We're going to get to WandaVision in a bit, but I brought up to Thomas because I saw a photo from 2019's San Diego Comic-Con when they released all of they talked about Phase 4 for the first time. And initially WandaVision was supposed to be the 5th project coming out in Phase 4, and now it's become the 1st, which is crazy. And I'm curious to see if they had to, rearrange some stuff, but this was supposed to be the first Black Widow, and I want it, man. We need this movie. It feels like it's been forever since it was supposed to come out, and it was already, in my opinion, like years late anyway. So I'm excited for it. I hope it just sticks with that date, and the runtime looks good, not too long, like Wonder Woman.
Moving on. Up next, we have Spider-Man 3 / Spider-Verse #1 / Homecoming 3. There's no truth to those rumors. I don't even know how that would be pulled off, and I have no idea what they're doing with the Spider-Man movies now. But I don't really understand a world in which that would be possible. Quoted by Dane DeHaan.
Not sure that's how he sounds, but let's go with it. So yeah, Dane DeHaan was asked, because everyone else seems to be in Spider-Man 3. He was asked about it recently, and he said what Thomas just quoted, that there's no truth to it. I don't even know what's happening in the movies. Could he be playing coy? Who knows? I doubt it. Just because he had such a small role. And I think if they're going to bring a goblin into this universe, even through a multiverse, it'd be different. Maybe William Dafoe or maybe a new one. I like Dane DeHaan in the film. I think his performance was really good. I think what he was given and the story of that Joker was poor. And his look wasn't very good. But I enjoy him as an actor. So I'd like to see him in it, but I just don't know. I don't think he's playing coy. I think it's really not going to happen. But everyone else is in Spider-Man 3, so we can still look forward to that.
Yeah, I've heard that Tom Holland's in Spider-Man.
I heard that too.
Oh, no, I'm missing a graphic.
Oh, no.
Hold, please. Okay, the timer hasn't gone off.
Thomas with the audio-visual issues. We can't have...
Coming up next, we have Thor, Love and Thunder. The production has officially started. Huzzah! Let's
filming, yeah.
Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I meant to just pull up this beautiful picture of the guns that he's got going on.
Yeah.
Look at these mother effing arms. Like, are you kidding me? It didn't even zoom in. This is bullcrap.
Well, and you know what I was thinking? I'm like, oh, I guess COVID's like controlled there.
Oh yeah, it is. That's the point. That's why they're doing it there. Look at his freaking arms. We're not even in the news yet. His arms are as big as Taika Waititi's head. Taika Waititi's head. Dyslexia. Anyways, here's what he said in his caption. Australia, Hugh Jackman Wallaby. A beautiful start to our shoot today with a welcome to country ceremony from the Gamay dancers of the, I'm going to butcher this, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Gadigal and Bidiagal Nation performance and Karakia by Maori dancers from, I'm not even going to say that. I don't want to I feel bad already. Indigenous Australians may be just as proud as this country, but many see January 26th as a date signifying the beginning of dispossession, disease, epidemics, frontier violence, destruction of culture, exploitation, abuse, separation of families, and subjection to policies of extreme social control. Let's begin the healing That was the wrong tone. Let's begin the healing and stand together in unity with and support with our First Nations people with solidarity and compassion. Let's find a date for all Australians and celebrate this beautiful country together. That's just a heart. That's why he's Thor, man. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. I'll give that. Look at those arms.
I'm excited. Filming. There's been a bunch of little news coming out of people like flying to Australia. The Guardians. Jamie Alexander, isn't that who plays Sif?
She's allegedly there for that.
She's allegedly there. I'm saying rumors, like people like, heading to Sydney, heading to Australia. So yeah, we've kind of been getting the little tidbits of news that this is happening, but now officially, we're seeing that they are there and they're going to begin filming Thor: Love and Thunder, which comes out now in 2022.
Oh my yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take another quick, brief ad break, and we will be right back on the other side of this ad. A Native American veteran fighting a war he never knew existed against supernatural entities, but only his noble spirits will guide him. This is The Listener, When Wind Weeps. I'm dyslexic. The Listener, When Winds Weep. It's a series revolving around our main character, Addistan. Addy, for short. He's a Native American soldier loosely based on Leslie Tebow, a Native American vet who fought and dealt with horrifying circumstances. Addy inherits the abilities of the Listener when his father dies, allowing him to see the dead, as well as other supernatural beings. We pepper supernatural horror into the narrative of our story, a modern take on old stories, myths, religion, and campfire tales. One of our biggest strengths is what sets us apart, the fact that our stories are buried in long-forgotten truths. We're not writing superhero stories. We're depicting tales for a new generation. This Kickstarter is now live. Zombies the Movie is looking for assistance with donations or shares. A classic sci-fi feature cheese fest written and directed by Alicia Marie and starring the swath of local talent you can see on your screen if you're watching the video version of this. It will be about, you guessed it, zombie bees. The synopsis reads, a small town coroner has to team up with her ex-fiance to save her town from a swarm of mutant honeybees. There's action, drama, humor, maybe even a flamethrower or two. There's definitely a ton of bad bee puns and a very unlikely hero, probably played by some hairy individual on your screen. You can go to Zombies GoFundMe at gofundme.com/f/zombies-feature-film to donate and help all of our actors and crew members get paid for the art that we love. You can also go to facebook.com/zombies the movie and instagram.com/zombies the movies to keep up with the buzz. And let me just say, there will be blood. Reels and Heels is a podcast that discusses movies, television, wrestling, and more. With a rotating guest list of friends and filmmakers alike, Reels and Heels salutes the creative arts of all kinds. Join Brian Winzeloff and Nicole Jobin live every Saturday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Reels and Heels. Honey, who is it? It's WandaVision, 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 WandaVision. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's the rabbit hole. That is Episode 3 came out on the day of fries. David, do you have anything that you want to say? Because your notes are very bare.
I do not have notes. I have mental notes. I think the move here for this discussion of episode 3 of WandaVision is just we follow you along on your thought path, as some may say, and I'll chime in when I want to, and then at the end, obviously, we'll discuss kind of the future and what just happened. But I will say, I guess, just at the jump, good episode. You know, I'm gonna say it again. There is at least 2 a week because it's just the taste, and this show is gonna be great. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy the speculation. Like, today we're gonna dive into a bunch of different theories, and we would never get to theorize as much if we got it all at once. But the show is going to be better when it's all said and done.
Terry McIver is in the comments, and he says, Thomas has notes. David has mental notes. I'm just mental. Terry, aren't we all?
So I would just say this is a good episode. You know, we're getting a little bit more into it and what's kind of happening here. And I mean, just really fascinating stuff. There's just part of me, like, we get to just dissect these episodes so much. It's almost, I want to say this, you know, I think some of our theories have been true, and like of others that we've read online. And in a way, what's up there?
I'm sorry, I'm staring at my hairline.
Okay, looks good. You know, there's part of me where it's like dissecting something so much week to week could lead to us, you know, kind of figuring it out in a way, which I don't want to. Which sounds stupid, but part of me is like, I want to have the surprise. I enjoy it. I love the speculation. I like having theories because there's so many that can happen. And that's what's been good so far, is that they've given us such little bits, but it has been that. It's been short episodes, little bits, well done. I enjoy the show a lot. Jasmine's really into it, which is awesome because obviously, like, we haven't had Marvel forever, and she just loves Elizabeth Olsen, and she really enjoys the mystery of it. Exactly. If it wasn't, the fact that it's Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany leading the show makes it, I mean, a good tick better. Like, instead of someone else. Like, these are actors I really enjoy. I enjoy their characters. I want to talk about dynamic characters because of how much they have to, and actors, all the different things they have to do. That's kind of my opening spiel. Thomas, I want to dive into this episode because a lot happened and there's a lot to bounce off of from it.
I'm going to try and run through the plot really fast. We start out with an amazing 70s intro, which I sang.
Yeah.
1 + 1 is more than 2, or something like that. I don't remember the lines, but it was a lot of fun. It was a classic 70s intro. We hop right into Doctor being there, checking the baby for, being alive, and we get some great interaction. And I'll dive into my notes in a bit. He goes off. He walks the guy out. We get some weird stuff with Herb cutting a wall. Comes back in. Wanda's growing faster. The gist is Wanda got pregnant last night, and she has the baby today. That is the plot of this episode. And the only person who realizes how weird it is Vision, which will be amazing as we get later on. And of course, it's the 70s comedy sitcom. There's some hijinks. Someone shows up to help out. Then we get an amazing reveal of where Wanda is in this world and where she falls in the domino line and the chain of command, really, of the reality pocket universe. And it kind of, I'm kind of right on some of my fan theories from last week. Not all of them. But then there's some really very scary, weird stuff that goes on that I just can't fathom. And of course, the episode ends with Monica Rambeau, spoiler alert, Geraldine, getting shot out, as we saw from the trailer, landing, and an amazing song playing. But let's dive into the notes I have. So, time for Wanda and Vision moves sequentially from day to night. So, it was day and night in the 50s or whatever it was, and they moved on to episode 2, and that was just a continuation. And then at the end of episode 2, she's pregnant, and then 12 hours later is the start of episode 3, and she's even more pregnant, about 4 months along. And as she keeps going on, she loses her powers. And so really, Vision is recognizing that, you know, he has that quote, how large would the baby be after saving, I don't know, 12 hours? And he's like, 12 hours. And she's like, well, I think this line of questioning is fruitless. And I laughed. That's an amazing one. You know, then he goes outside, he walks the doctor out, and Herb is cutting through, he's trimming hedges, and then Vision's like, Herb, it's that you've gone a little too far with your hedge trimming. So I have. keeps cutting. Now, I think this is a blatant crack in the facade moment where this really kind of cues us, the audience, in that Herb is not what he seems at all.
Right.
He's just like, so I have. Let me stare at you all creepily and keep cutting.
Yeah.
And Vision is now starting to, and he even walks in, and the first thing he says is, "There's something that happens very weird out there with Herb." And whoa, Nelly! My Paul Bettany impression is getting very good. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm very stoked on my Paul Bettany impression. And then it's like, boom, right back. She's even bigger. Now it's like 6 months because she has baby kicking. They're painting. We get a lot of fun stuff. Something I noticed. We'll get there, actually. I want to do the butterfly first. We get the butterfly scene that we saw from the trailers. And I believe this is the first inkling of her not being able to control her power. David, what are your thoughts on her losing the ability to control her powers throughout the show?
Wait. What do you mean losing her ability to control her powers?
She's like, "Oh, is the baby kicking?" It's like, "Oh, it feels all fluttery." And then the monarchs, the butterfly thingy, turn into real butterflies.
Oh, right. And then later she couldn't change the bird, right?
Yeah, and then she even says directly, "Did I do that? I didn't mean to." It's
right.
Then when she starts going into false contractions or whatever it is, then the kitchen starts bubbling and the power zaps out, and it's like,
Oh, right.
She's doing stuff and not realizing it, and then she's like, "Well, I wonder what would happen when real contractions happen." What a question! Because I really want to know what's happening on the outside of WandaVision while she does this, which we'll get to later, because that's an amazing tease for what I think the title of next week's episode is, which is going to be a running thing on this show now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to guess the next week's title, and I'm using context clues from advertisements that they've been sending out. And David, what did I predict? Would be, I think it was going to be Now in Technicolor, or Now in Amazing Technicolor was going to be that was my guess for this week's title, and Now in Color. I wasn't far off. And the adverts they're sending out, I think, are spoilers for like the title for the next week. So we'll come back to this later. The monarch butterfly, as pointed out to me by David Thompson, was seen in Doctor Strange. He goes up, he's in the multiverse, touches the butterfly, gets shot back in, and he would have vomited. Like, I don't know why they didn't make him vomit. That would have been hilarious. And then they're shown again when Thanos zaps them into being like butterflies. Butterflies are starting to be a weird like clue in a lot of shows and movies right now. It's like it's a butterfly effect kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's poking at the butterfly effect, and how in different realities there's all these different effects, because all these different branches of reality. It's because, quote unquote, a butterfly died, or like there's something that makes every reality different because different things happen in each one. And it could be just as small. That's the whole point of the butterfly effect. It can just this little tiny thing, and it changes everything. Sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was pretty much it.
Oh, okay. My bad. So in the thing that's very intriguing about this is some people are theorizing it's a Doctor Strange coming in, which makes sense. But when you look at the butterfly effect, it's a very big clue as to what is the key, like what's the problem with this show? What is the conflict? As she loses control of her powers and changes this pocket universe, which we now know at the end of this episode is set inside of the real universe at the same time, then we really have to wonder what is going on. Like, what is changing as she does this? And I think the butterfly effect is the key to questioning this.
And when you think about it, just the show kind of taking a step back, going through these different. Think about this. At the end of episode 2, they're changing into color. Who's doing that? Is it Wanda not being able to control? And it's kind of, I almost.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like,
she was pregnant, and that pregnancy came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. I think there's some dark energy in those babies.
Well, yeah, definitely. You know, they're gonna wrap the show up so well. I can already tell because they're laying out the groundwork just beautifully. Because we're all breaking it down. That's what's cool too. Is we're all sitting around here rewatching and looking at every inch and still not knowing what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? Like, and still just being able to point to all these little things. There's no chance. I know the MCU. I know Feige. There's no chance this is gonna fall on its face at the end. They're gonna tie all this up, and it's gonna be interesting. Where I always think like what's happening is like Wanda's just like how'd this start? What's happening in reality? Like at the end of Endgame to now, what's Wanda been up to? I think she just like buries herself in this really bad, like, you know, it's really just like she's gotten herself in a dark place mentally, and she's Scarlet Witch, and this is what happens. And she's made this whole thing, and it's become this actual like physical thing. Swords there. I just want to say, like with the butterfly effect, I think that is they did it on purpose, and it may not be this big deal, but it's showing us, you know, that there are these different it's in my opinion, all it really is, it could be more, is just a poke at multiverses, because we all kind of know the multiverse is coming with the Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. It's been, you know, we all know it's coming, but this show, I think, is really going to introduce it into Phase 4. Which it's already been introduced as we've kind of been over, but it's really going to introduce it in a real tangible way for us fans. And originally, I'm bringing it back to my point earlier, how this was going to be the 5th project. It was supposed to come out like right up against Doctor Strange. Now there's a year difference, but this show is going to lead straight in Doctor Strange. We're going to get a bunch of other, I think, stories that won't be as connected to this through line, but we know for a fact, based off of like just, you know, interviews and all this, that WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange are all connected in a way, and I think that way is the multiverse. And let's continue on with episode 3, because we're not even. I always talk big picture. It's what I do best.
Same. So Vision has super speed, which I don't actually ever remember him having super speed.
I agree.
And the way they portray it is very similar to Pietro, which is a big importance that I noticed in this one. And really what gets me is when he's looking at the baby and he's like, I think we've come to an understanding. It's like, oh, that was weird. And then he literally runs away to do something, and I don't remember it, which is super weird. Vision also has human eyes. I've done my best to find like as good of close-ups as I can to see if he's got the technical things. Like maybe they could argue that they don't give him technical eyes in these because you save money and it doesn't. But I think because Pietro has blue eyes, maybe there's a connection.
But doesn't he have the technical eyes when he's actually Vision, and then like he makes the transformation?
No, yeah, no. What I'm saying is when he's in the Vision, he does not have
normal self. Oh,
yeah. I don't see the technical stuff in his eyes at all.
Interesting.
I've tried to keep a close eye on that because I didn't mean to make that pun at all, but I tried to like pay very close attention to that in this episode, but it was really hard because we don't get enough good close-ups of him.
Yeah.
And in the trailers, his eyes also look human, and I think they're leaving that open for us to kind of see.
I mean, let's think about it, right? Wanda is, in my opinion,
we should dive into that in the fan theory because I got one specifically tied to that. The laugh track is played in peculiar and tragic spots, which is important to know. I got this idea from Batman Beyond. I don't remember the actor that was on there, but I think it was he who said it, and he's like, you know, the laugh track is that tragic, like there's dark humor. It's throughout, and it just kind of seems like, oh, that's kind of funny, but also it's like, that's also weird at the same time. In this episode specifically, they laugh at very weird points. They don't laugh when jokes are being made.
This episode, I think this episode it's cracking the sitcom. Yeah, it like the sitcom starting to break a little bit, almost like there's some wires loose and just like the sitcominess of it. Like in the first 2 episodes, it's a pretty tight, like this is a sitcom, and the second one, you know, we're getting it in each one, but this one it's almost more off the rails. Where there's the moment where Vision, like, do you have
the glitch?
The glitch?
The glitch.
That's the best part. That's one of the best parts.
Glitch. So I loved the rewind in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watched this the first time and it did that, I was like, did Disney Plus mess up? And then the music turned on. I was like, oh my. So the glitch, ladies and gentlemen, he's come in and she mentions, you know, something's very strange. And he just, Wanda, there's something very strange going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the hearts, the something, he talks about something else in episode 2. I don't remember what it is. And then he goes,
the beekeeper, right? Or no?
I don't remember. I don't think he mentioned the beekeeper.
Because you wouldn't know that, right?
You wouldn't know that because it was around. See, I should have wrote that down and paid a little bit more.
There was something else.
There was something else he mentioned, and then he's like, outside with Herb. There's something very strange going on.
Maybe the pregnancy. Maybe he says how you're so far along. I don't remember.
I don't remember. There was a third thing. It might have been.
He was spooked about that. That's why I only was going to say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then as soon as he says, I think there's something very wrong going on here, it jumps back, and instantly the first thing that happens is a laugh. And it's like, oh!
Right.
Oh! Like, and I'm like, that's not funny. Don't play with me, Disney Plus. So the glitch is and it's important to note that now it's just those two people talking. And so who's the only person who can control that? It's Wanda. So Wanda's obviously in some level of control here, which we already kind of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been rumor that, you know, there's a secret Marvel villain and you may not be able to guess it. And I'm thinking that it's going to be like Spider-Man. There's a twofer here. It's 2 characters of the villain, but I'll get there when I get there.
Okay.
It's going to be, yeah. And I think most importantly that having the kids will cement this reality for Wanda, and it's for the children. I'm gonna say this right now. Moving on, storks are effing creepy, just in general. And she couldn't get rid of it. She tried to get rid of it, but she couldn't. And there's some theories that the stork is Mephisto himself. I don't know. That's a very dang good one. Honestly. It's a bold statement, but it's important to note that Wanda has the babies right after the stork makes direct eye contact with her. It's like, oh, the crib. And she's like, the crib. And the stork looks at her and she drops it. And she's like, the baby's coming. And that's when Tiana, oh my God, that's a real name. Geraldine, she has so many real names in my head, is like, you're pregnant? Yeah. And it's like, okay. And we skipped past all the other stuff. Someone pointed out that the fish on Geraldine / Monica Rambeau's pants could be a symbolizing Jesus, the Jesus fist, and she's there as the savior trying to save Wanda, whereas the stork trying to eat the fish is Mephisto trying to get rid of her. Like, there's some deep thoughts that people are putting into this, and I love hearing every second of it. I don't know if I go there. It's an interesting thought to go down. What is very apparent to me is that in every episode, when fear creeps in, it is the most real emotion they have. And it is 100% unabashed. It is as if the fake life is taxing on their minds, and any trigger, they release their fear. Specifically, I'm thinking of Geraldine, when, you know, the stork runs off and she's laughing and then it does that chattering. She stands like, what was that? It was a chattering sound. And she's like, oh, was it like a... She's like, yeah. It's like, oh, that's my new ice maker. Blah, blah, blah. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, like that's... I noticed that the fear... So this is all fear-based for everyone here, including the doctor, which I don't think I have it written here. Do I have it written here? I don't. He says, you know, small towns, they're so hard to escape. And Vision's like, huh. And then, of course, we get that laugh track. It's like, ah, it's like, that ain't funny. It's creepy.
Right.
Another important statement from the doctor when Vision runs off, he legs it over there to pick him up, and then comes back. The doctor says, I'm paraphrasing, moves so fast it was like we were flying. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. While in labor, this is the part where it's like, while in labor, everything was going haywire because the kids are made of pure magic. Now, whether that's her creating the kids from pure magic or Mephisto's life essence, I'm not sure. But it's for the children. Everything is for the children. And I have this very strong feeling that we are going to find out some stuff later on. And it's going to, and this is also another further revelation that she's not in control of her powers. And again, what's happening on the outside of the universe, man? Like this pocket universe of Westview, what's going on there? Now, they have both babies, 20 fingers and 20 toes. Two healthy baby boys. They chat back and forth. Vision goes outside. We get that line from the doctor that I mentioned, small towns hard to escape. We get Agnes and Herb, and they're talking, they're whispering, and they're all into something. They know some stuff. And Vision's like, peculiar day we're having, yes? You lose power too? Oh, yes. And they go back to talking, and they're just like, is Geraldine in there? She doesn't have a family, no husband. That's all right. No home. And we jump back inside. Wanda mentions Ultron. Wanda says she was a twin. Wanda, for the first time, mentions Pietro. And her accent comes back for that, and then it goes back away.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful. Then she sings.
Because she's cracked. Like that's her being actually her for a second, right?
Yeah, that's the real world coming through. And I wrote this in my notes. Is this the crack of her amnesia? Because again, I think her powers are creating this universe, but I think she's also slightly being manipulated a little bit. But like I said,
I think
the kids
being contained, less manipulated. Because think about that force field. That feels more like real world. And I think almost like that universe is just being pocketed and contained by Sword. That's my opinion. And that she just kind of like because why would it just be in that little bubble if something's not just contain it? And why would Sword be there? Because she's a sentient weapon. And I'm sticking with that.
Okay, man, I will disagree. I'll just say it right now. When you create a pocket reality, there has to be an edge to that reality. And it seems to be the edge of the reality is Westview, which is why no one can leave. And small towns are so hard to escape. I don't know if Sword set up that barrier. I mean, they set up shop, but if you realize that there's something going on, like
you're right.
There's a theory. I was going to try and label it, but I can't actually think of what it is. An energy theory that there's window areas where you can step into other realities. And you go into a pocket universe, and then you can come back out. And the passing of time is very relative. Like, I was gone for hours. You were gone for 5 minutes, or I was there for 5 minutes. You were gone for 5 days. What are you talking about? Like, it's very interesting. Right. So I'm looking at it through that lens, and it's like, okay, somebody must have walked on into Westview and then was like, how the heck did I end up in the 50s? And then they walk back out, and they're utilizing that same kind of
I don't know. It kind of feels like when you get because with Monica, it feels like when she gets in Westview that she has like amnesia, correct? Like that you just don't know where you are or what's going on, and then you're like, but I'm here, right? And now I'm living here, and you're like you're used to that. It's just that you don't know like what you're doing there exactly.
And that's coming from the powers of control, whomever is controlling it, whether it be Wanda. So when Vision enters the house after that discussion, and they're basically you need to go check in on Geraldine, and Herb says, she's here because we are, and she's like, shh, don't tell him. And then she has that joke, and we get the scene from the trailer where she like, haha, wink, and rides away. She makes a solid joke. No laugh track. Yeah. At all. No laugh track. The music is eerie. Wanda's confronting Monica Rambeau in there. Who are you? What
That
are you
part's
saying?
crazy.
And like when she mentioned, she's like, well, she says, excuse me, she mentions Pietro, and she starts coming to Monica, and she looks over and says, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And she's like, what? Like she's confused, but she's got a tear coming down her eye, which makes me think that her amnesia is cracking. And like I said earlier, I think having the kids cements Wanda in this reality, because at this point, she'll do anything as a mother. She'll do anything to protect her children, even if they're not real. And that is where I think.
Or are they real?
Oh, we'll find out, man.
Like that's my. I was gonna ask you that later.
We'll get there. I like that question because I really want to point. I wanted to lead up to that because then she's like, "Where'd you come from? What is that symbol? Why are you doing this?" And then a couple times, Monica or Geraldine is just like very serious, like, "Don't be like that." And it's like, "Oh man, that'd be sick."
No, I know. This is when the show's like, "Oh, okay, here we go." Like we're really gonna get some stuff here.
The show is like, "Here's what's going on, folks."
Yeah.
Vision enters the house after that weird thing, and the music surrounding Wanda reminds me of the music surrounding Luke Skywalker in chapter 16 of Mandalorian. It is reverence. It is absolute power. It is played like she's a god. And the acting from her voice is the same. Oh, nothing. She had to run home. It's like, oh, okay, but her face is just, I did the thing. And it's a beautiful thing. It is utilizing the voice to portray to the person asking, everything's fine, while your face is telling the true story. And it is a beautiful piece of acting, and it's breaking down the duality of the moment. Then we get the great thing of we see Monica Rambeau coming out. We see the real world, the aspect ratio changes, blew my mind. And the sign says Westview. David, here's the key. Home is where you make it. And that is why I think she probably saw that sign, decided to, in any way, Wanda saw that sign at some point in history and said, home is where you make it. I'm going to make my home in Westview. And that's how, in some form or fashion, we get to this story. Whether she consciously did it or someone manipulated her and so, that's from a memory. Let's do that. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, when the ratio started expanding, I got so hyped. I'm like, oh, let's go. Like, because, I mean, that's kind of what everyone's been wanting, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, at least me, like, let's pull back this curtain a bit more. Let's see what's really going on. Let's expand out of just these, like, sitcom stories. I mean, it's gonna come, right? It's a slow burn, but like when that started expanding, and it's like, all right, this is legitimately like we're getting out of, like, this is becoming something. And the fact, what was cool to me is that it expanded on Wanda, and in my mind, breaking the amnesia, alternate theory. Maybe she can go back and forth, and she's in control. Maybe she's in way more control than we think.
My hope is that she's in a little bit less control, so she doesn't end up becoming,
especially when the look on her face when she's like at that maniacal smile going, and it starts to expand. It's like, wait, maybe she is really just pulling all these strings, and it's just her. And that, I mean, I like that one because my big theory is just that, like, Sword's more there to contain her, less to control her. Which I like more and more as these things go on, because I like the idea of Wanda being this like quasi villain, like at the end of this show, or that like she's not like that. She's really gone down a dark path here, and it's not just that we should be rooting for Wanda in the end, that we will, but that she's in a dark place and that things need to be sorted out. So I like the idea that maybe that she's in more control than then maybe we really think. But that, who knows? I mean, it's a lot to read into. There's a lot to read into in all these episodes, so it's hard to just pick one. I think,
everyone's like, oh, Sword's there to control her. I think Sword's there to monitor her. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, control.
I've always
not control, but contain. My bad.
I don't even think contain. I don't even think they're containing. I think they're trying to figure out what the frack is going on. I almost used my one F-bomb. But we'll come to that in a bit. The final thing to note of this of the trailer before we dive into the fan story, the episode. Daydream Believer by the Monkees plays out as soon as she lands and she opens her eyes. Here's the lyrics. But it rings and I rise. Wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaving razor's cold and it stings. Cheer up, Sleepy Jean. That's the wrong tempo. Whatever. Cheer up, Sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean? That to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen. And it is if at that time, as she's got her eyes, Monica Rambeau's consciousness is kind of melding everything back together. And I almost said what I think is going to happen next week. Fan stories. What do you got? What do you want to talk about, David, for your stories?
I have a question, right? And
Okay.
we teased it earlier. So we had kind of a Thory. I love when we just say that. We had kind of a Thor. Like I like when it's like mine too. Like now I have the fan stories as well, even though I'm not Thor. We had this story,
Jason.
yeah, where people, like at least I said this, where everyone that's in WandaVision in Westview is someone in real life, and they're like trapped in there, or they are someone in the real world, outside of Vision, essentially. He is someone, but like he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so right, we got that down. What about these kids that are being created? Are they all right, let's quick little I wish I could have like a graph. So 10 people go into the place, and now there's 10 people in the place, and there's like so they are from the outside world, but they're also in there. Now we make 2 inside of it. Can those 2 leave that reality, or do they not exist outside of it? I hope, and I think they're gonna.
That is the question, man.
I believe it's gonna be they can, and that they are real now, because we know in the comics, like, and it's a little different. Like, she just kind of conjures them, like she creates them. It's not that like her and Vision could do anything biologically there.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same here. And like, if that's what they're doing, I think they will exist outside of the reality. I do think they will. I think they could be building to something with that. That we're not really anticipating.
Yeah. That's a great thing. I concur.
Okay.
The creation, it's all for the children, right? So whomever is in control is doing it for the children. If Wanda's in control, means she wants the kids. If she's not in complete control and someone else is pulling her strings while she's pulling those strings, they want the kids. The fan story, I'm sorry to our audio listeners for years. The fan story that I really enjoy listening to from others is Mephisto. Wanda created the boys, the twins, from the power of and life essence of Mephisto. So if Mephisto is the story, and then he looked at her and was like, boom, we're having the baby. And that is a child of Wanda and Mephisto, 2 magical entities. They would be essentially gods in terms of magical power level, right? Let's just call it what it is. That's why everything is for the children. I don't think she's dreaming whatsoever. This is, as we saw, a pocket reality. I thought about the idea originally that she was in like a nightmare reality, and maybe she is, but we'll find out more next week, I think, in terms of how the realities interact. And I'll just say that I'll say that now. I think my story from last week that she ends this by saying no more multiverse. I still think that's the key. I really do. I think no more multiverse is where this is going to go. Because let's look at Loki. All right, Loki's the next thing that's going to have a loose ties to Doctor Strange. Time is relative to Loki. And if there is no more multiverse, what is the one thing that would stop the multiverse from collapsing into one single universe? Time. Because each universe is at a different pace and rate of space and time. So I think it'll happen. That'll do its thing. And then Loki will find out a little bit more about these realities crashing into each other. Hence, all of the Lokis coming together of all the universes, and Loki probably being the big bad of that. I'm just gonna jump here now, dude. The surprise villain / don't see the villain. Wanda is the hero of this story because it's Wanda's story. And I don't mean like she's the protagonist to us. She's the protagonist to herself. Anyone that tries to stop this reality, because again, it's for the children, and now for her, it is for the children. She'll do anything to protect them. Anyone who tries to stop that is going to be the villain.
Mm-hmm.
If Doctor Strange shows up, he's going to be that villain in terms of Wanda. But by that point, I think our perspective will change, and we'll see that Wanda is now part of the villain. And I think I still think, in my heart of hearts, that Mephisto is controlling her so that he can have two children his children out in the world so that he can control them and start taking over all of reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So piggybacking off of that point where Doctor Strange is the villain, I see what you're saying, and I kind of agree. I just think it's going to be more played like that Wanda is sort of the villain. Like, I get what you're saying where she's but it's exactly what you just said, where from a different perspective, Wanda, exactly. Like, it's depending on the way you're looking at it. And I think that's going to, I'm curious how that would be told. I said this, I think, last week. I really like the idea that Doctor Strange pops up at the end. We know it was supposed to come right after WandaVision initially. So we know they are directly tied. We'll see. I really like that idea. I like the idea that he will be involved because we know she's in the movie. And are they just going to have her in there without them interacting in this show at all? I think not. It's the MCU, man. This is where it's most connected and everything plays a part. I'm not sure about the Mephisto theory. I like it. I just don't know. I think in my heart, in my head, I think it's Wanda just really in WandaVision, the concept of like what's happening in the show. It's her perfect world. She's trying to play out what she wanted to happen, right? And it's having kids with Vision, living a life with Vision. Like she's trying to avoid any conflict. It's just supposed to be all like happy, like all these little sitcom, like it's very light. And having kids with Vision and stuff. I see your theory. I just think that her wanting to have kids and them just kind of popping up is just it just adds on to what she wanted her life to be with Vision. And that's kind of like where my mindset is with it. Like, and that stuff will keep adding on. Like,
why are they continuously teasing Ralph, Agnes's husband, and continuously mentioning or portraying some kind of fire and brimstone reaction throughout almost every episode, like Mephisto?
I think
that's where I think Mephisto comes in. Now, I don't think he's going to be. He might have been the guy. He might have just planted the seed in her mind, kind of thing. Like,
right.
She would not have done this just on her own. I don't think she would have warped all of reality on her own. I think that's where my mind is. So someone pushed her to warp reality. But Wanda, once they said that she's going to become the Scarlet Witch, it's like, oh, so she's about to become a bad guy. Like, that's been my thought the whole time. And I really am kind of hoping that, like, it builds to her being the big bad of Doctor Strange. And I think that Spider-Man, since we're on this train, Spider-Man is going to get some help from Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange is going to get help from Spider-Man because Spider-Man has the heart of humanity, and he's going to be the key to getting into the heart of one.
You bet he does. You bet he does.
I knew that would make you. So here's another theory that I have. Vision didn't have a soul or super speed. So how did they animate the husk of Vision? I think, bear with me here, Pietro's soul is inside the husk of Vision. And this is a direct link to Mephisto, because in some form or fashion, he can manipulate souls. So I think that is actually what's going on with Vision. I think that's Pietro in there, because that would explain his love. Like, obviously they have a connection, but it would explain his weird speed and certain things that he says and does.
Because his weird speed. Yeah.
Like his weird speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to say it again. The kids are the reason for this pocket universe, and the amount of power, magical power required to create them is insane. And I think that's going to continue to build. And the laugh track really just makes me feel more and more like this show is going to end on pure heartbreak and a descent into madness.
I'm cool with it. Descent into the multiverse of madness. Let's go.
David, what do you think episode 4 is going to be titled?
It's the 80s, right?
I don't know.
Shrug.
There was rumors that we would get a couple episodes in the same in a couple episodes in the same decade.
Right.
So,
I think next episode's the 80s. I'm trying to think of like maybe an 80s sitcom time. This one was Now in Color.
Now in Color.
I don't know. What's yours? Because I wasn't prepared. I can't just come up
Really?
with a title.
All right, here you go, brother. So my title is The World Outside. I think the entire episode.
All right, mine's The Outside World.
You son of a bitch. You're good at Tim.
Watch mine be right. Let's go. The Outside World.
That was my first one. I was like, The Outside World. And I was like, I don't know about that. Because, again, and this is coming from the poster that they shared today with Tiana Paris on there as Monica Rambeau, big, beautiful afro. And it says, the picture is out of this world. And last week they said, the color is so amazing, you'll think it's real. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah. I noticed that little link up. So I think it's the world outside. I think most of this next episode is us learning. I think it's going to be, because I sent you a GIF that I found on Twitter, and it is the beekeeper crossing the barrier in the sewers.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't seen that yet. We also haven't seen the shot of Monica Rambeau being shot out. I think the episode starts, and it's been confirmed that we'll learn a little bit more about Monica Rambeau in the next one by Tiana Paris. She says you'll learn a lot more about her in the next episode and what she's doing. I think we start the episode with the final of her getting shot out of there. She comes to, and we find out what's going on in the real world. Because think about how every episode has ended and led to the next one, right? The first one ended pure sitcom, whatever, close out, and then we zoomed out just so we knew that something else was going on. Then we start the next episode. They're like sleeping in bed and whatever, and blah, 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 blah. And then that episode's in with color and her being pregnant. Then this episode starts with her being really pregnant and in color.
Yeah.
And it ends with their aspect ratio change. Teasing. We did not, I don't think, got the aspect ratio change in the first episode, did we?
No.
Yeah. So I think this episode will be in the outside world. So now, they only released the first 3 episodes to the critics and to press. And I think the reason is because in episode 4, it answers a lot of questions.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what they've I think Paul Bettany kind of teased that.
Yeah.
Where episode 4, I'm excited because I think we're really going to get it rolling. Because I was thinking about it, like, all right, we're a third into the show.
Yeah.
Now we got
end of Act 1. We're at the end of Act 1. If you break it down for even, like making them even, we're end of Act 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you find out the actual conflict going on.
Yeah. I'm still of the belief that the final 3 episodes are, I don't know, maybe not the final 3, but what I've read and what I've seen is that there's going to be more action set pieces in the final 3 episodes. Yeah. Are we even in the sitcoms by then?
I don't think so.
That would be dope, bro. If like by the final third, where we're just straight MCU, like, all right, every week we're tuning into just kind of we're not even getting into the WandaVision stuff anymore. It's just there's maybe the next episode is going to be. I was thinking, like 20, 30 minutes. They're going to give us all the exposition we need. Maybe in the next episode, it's going to be 50-50, and now it starts to pick up outside with the world, inside one. Like that's what I'm thinking, right? So
it starts to balance that a little bit better.
That's what my brain just did. So first third, like 98% in WandaVision. Second third, 50-50-ish, 60-40, whatever you want to do. Last third, like 90% outside of it, or like completely outside of it if things go to hell and blow up and things break. So who knows? I don't know. I think by the end we will get to that point. I don't think all of the last 3 episodes, because that's a lot.
Well, as we saw in the trailer, at some point, like the worlds meet up in terms of timeline, because we see them in like modern day stuff. And then she's like, "This is our home, and we must protect it." And they go fight. I don't think that's what he initially.
Yeah, and there's some stuff with Vision that we've seen in the trailers with him. Like, there's that one shot, and that's the thing too with the marketing of this show. And we saw,
Halloween.
Yeah, and there's that one shot of him like kind of like floating up. There's been some stuff in the marketing that hasn't actually shown up in what seems like that timeline that would have been in that episode, especially in episode 3. Yeah, the 70s, where like, you know, the Monica Rambeau getting blasted out and Wanda using her magic. I think this is leading to, and I've said this since day one, this is our second week talking WandaVision, but is that this show, and it needs it. The show in like episode whatever at the end of the season, it needs that moment. It may even be more halfway through where we get those alternate view shots of all the other angles of WandaVision actually unfolding, because it'll help, especially fans that aren't like us, completely locked into these theories and staring it down. That but that, like if Mephisto's the bird, the bird that didn't move. Like they need, I think audiences need that. Like when things start making sense and clicking, and we get answers to what's happening in the show. I hope we visually see that, and they show us an alternate angle, the behind the scenes of what was actually happening in episodes, say 1, 2, and 3 so far. I think that'll be really necessary.
That would be effing amazing. That wraps up our chat of WandaVision, and it's Tuesday. Like, I cannot wait for Friday.
Yeah, closest time.
I leave tomorrow, and then I got all day Thursday to just chill out, and I wake up on Friday morning, WandaVision.
I'll be watching in the afternoon.
Yeah, man. Now I know how agonizing it was for you waiting for me to respond. I watch it and I have no one to talk about anything with, so I can't talk to anyone here about Marvel. Can't really talk to that many people about Star Wars. So it's like I just sit and wait for you. And it's like, shoot. David, where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Facebook at David Thompson, my name, David J. Thompson on TikTok and Instagram. And then go follow me on Twitter. It's my most active account. I would say I love Twitter, at David Thompson with 2 A's in the David. Go find me there. Thomas, how about yourself?
You can just go to linktree.com/TC Rochester Act. That is TCROCHESTERACT. You'll find all my links to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, etc., our podcast, all the things I'm involved in. That makes my life a lot easier to just say that.
There you
go. David, anything to promote, my friend?
Yeah, guys, go check out thedirect.com. We're covering all this news. We got a lot of WandaVision going up right now. It's been taking over our lives for the most part, because it's finally an MCU show. But yeah, go check out my stuff on the Direct. I wrote a piece just the other day about John Boyega. Had an interesting comment about big budget films in general. So you can go check out that. Go check us out on the Direct in general, thedirect.com.
I wanted to talk about that. I forgot it. But in the future,
go read the article then. That's a nice little tease.
It's a beautiful tease. So from one thing before we go, I just got a notification from HBO Max. March 31st is Godzilla vs. Kong.
All right.
So
wrap it all up.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
That's a legit. Sorry, I was quickly. That's a legit time when theaters could be definitely open and people wanting to go to that. That's the end of March. It'll be April by then. What are we? End of January. I don't know. I'm optimistic. I'm happy today, Thomas.
Me too, brother. Thank you all for joining us. We love hearing from you. Sorry we didn't read all the comments out. We've been following
great comments from Kathy Rosari and Terry. Thank you so much for chatting in there. Had a good back and forth. Great thoughts on WandaVision. I was reading them, so no, they were read.
they were read. We were bad this week at doing them because we had too much stuff to talk about. But thank you all for joining us. This has been episode 42, aka The Meaning of Life. Lights, Thunder, Action. We will catch you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Hello, I'm Thor, son of Dale, here to tell you about the Life of Thor Productions official shop. The only place where you can get your official merchandise for the Lights, Thunder, Action podcast and Life of Thor's Thor Watches series. Whether you want t-shirts, tanks, hoodies, mugs, and masks, Life of Thor Productions official shop has you covered. If you happen to recognize there's an item that you would like to buy that is not in the official shop, head over to the Lights, Thunder, Action podcast or Life of Thor and request that item, because if you want it, we'll sell it. Just head to lotproductions.threadless.com/collections to get the item that calls out to you via the Force. Again, that is lotproductions.threadless.com/collections. Thank you and have a Thor-tastic day.